It's coffee time. Man, I feel like so much has happened. Last night I went to, well, we had friend zone. We did all of that. But in the evening I went to an old friend's birthday party, which was super fun. Do you guys remember when I was telling you about how I went to Meltdown for the charity D20 thing and I ran into an old friend of mine, Curtis? Well, Curtis and his wife live in LA now, and so I got a text message from them being like, hey, Margaret's birthday is on Friday, do you want to come? And I was like, sure. So I wound up going to her birthday, which was awesome. It's at this bar. Okay, if you like cool, interesting bars, you should totally go to this place. It's called the Edison, and it's in Hollywood, but it's like this multi-story, I don't even know how to describe it aside from like, it's a bar that you would expect to have seen in BioShock, right? Like everybody is dressed in accordance with the fake time period of this bar. They have a very strict dress code. The drinks are delicious. There's a little girl who's walking around in like a flapper outfit with a little push cart that has tiny little bottles of infused absinthe. It's just like very strange but awesome at the same time. They have like all of these black and white movies being like projected in different places, and it's just a really cool place. I didn't have any of the food. I will say, I didn't eat any food because I assumed it was just a drinks place, but everybody that was there said that the food is also delicious. And best part is that once every couple of hours, they have like crazy aerial shows that go on. So that's with like ropes or ribbons, really anything. And they have men and women, and they just come out and they do all of these crazy like strength moves and acrobatics and things with ropes and like climb and do flips, and it was nuts. It was so crazy, but like really, really, really cool. And by the end of the night, I was like, man, this was wonderful. Like, even if this wasn't a birthday, I would have liked to come here, you know? The one thing that I was told to do that I did not do, because I came in and, you know, they had like an actual hostess who was right out front. And she was like, okay, you're gonna go downstairs and then meet with the hostess downstairs. So I went downstairs, and this hostess was supposed to tell me where my group was, because you can like rent out areas, you can rent out like tables and areas for your group to be at or whatever, like reservations, right? So I went downstairs and there was supposed to be a hostess there who was like, ah, yes, you're with this party, allow me to escort you. Never happened. I could not find anybody for the life of me. So I spent the first like 15 minutes that I was there just kind of walking around in circles being like, Curtis, Curtis, where are you? But eventually we all found each other. It was super cool. It was just like a bunch of people who were super into D&D and art and games. We talked about all sorts of games all night and just had good drinks and shared friendships, and I was the very last person to leave. So, I don't know, we were just having such a good time like talking and chatting, and I wound up staying way longer than everybody else, so it wound up just being the three of us at the end, just kind of like catching up and talking about old times and all that. And it turns out that we're within like a decent driving distance of each other, so we were like, oh man, we should do dinner and stuff. And I honestly like didn't get home all that late, which was awesome. So yeah, got home, went to bed, etc. The norm. And then today I was on roleplay. I was on JP's roleplay show. Sam, I think, originally was asked to be on it again because he was on it last Saturday. And I filled in as their final person. And it was super fun because I had waited a long time to look at the campaign information, so I was the last person who created my character. And by the time I had created her, everybody else had already chosen, and so I said, well, what do we need? Like, I normally like to play kind of tanky characters. I can be a spellcaster if we need one. And the DM was like, you know, I think we need like a warrior or a barbarian. And I said, awesome, I'll be a barbarian, right? Because you get like your rage mode and all this stuff. And he was like, cool, what race do you want to be? I said, I want to be a half-orc, which wound up being funny because JP was also a half-orc, so we were like the two new characters to the campaign. Both half-orcs, did not know each other, like, we just happened to be two half-orcs. And, yeah, man, I had been thinking to myself, like, okay, so what am I traveling for? Obviously, just because it's me, I want it to be kind of a character. And so I decided that her backstory, well, her story in general, is just that she is a half-orc social climber. She's trying to find somebody who's going to realize her potential as a lady of society and just bump her up and give her nice dresses and take her to parties, and that's what she wants. But, like, she had to, because the way that the campaign is structured, it's like, unless you are an adventurer, you don't really leave your home because it's so dangerous. So it was kind of like, well, the only way that I'm going to be, you know, noticed is if I travel, if I go around on adventures. So that was kind of her story, and oh my god, the craziest stuff happened in that game today. The first part is on JP's channel, so those will be going out over time. youtube.com/itmejp. I like that he puts up the first one while the game is going. He did that in our last game too. The post-apocalyptic one that I was in. He's really good about that, which is crazy. I think he has two computers. I think I've asked him about this before, like how he does that. I think he has two computers and that's how he kind of tackles that, you know? But man, it was really fun. It was really, really, really fun. And I was even asking people last night, I was like, okay, I have a half-orc barbarian and I'm trying to figure out like a story, right? And it's interesting how many people, I guess it like kind of makes sense as a mashup. It's interesting how many people were like, oh, I've played a half-orc barbarian before. So like Curtis, I was talking with Curtis and he was like, oh dude, I've had a half-orc barbarian. And I was like, yeah? And he was like, yeah. And get this, hated fighting, was actually a super coward. And I was like, oh my god. He was like, yeah, so there was, you know, this whole psychological element where when he went into a rage, he would like beat everybody up, but then be kind of like horrified with himself. I was like, ah, that's a little dark. It's a little dark for me. But yeah, there were like a couple of different people there last night who were like, oh, yeah, I've done that before. So I didn't go with any of their ideas, but they inspired me. They inspired me to think more in a sense of, this is actually kind of touching on a video that I'm going to make soon. But anyway, it's interesting how easily you can fall into a weird trap when trying to make a character of not thinking outside of themselves. That's like a weird way to say that. It's just like there are stereotypes that your brain automatically goes to, and it's really hard to identify them as stereotypes that aren't founded in anything, right? You have to like ask yourself, like, why am I making this choice? Am I making this choice because so many other people have made this choice that it seems like it makes sense? Or am I making this choice because it's motivated from something, right? So I started, after talking with enough people, I started thinking about it that way, and I was like, okay, I think I've got something. And it wound up being like such a fun character to play. But yeah, that's been my day today. I went to the grocery store to grab stuff for dinner, but I think that we might be grabbing dinner with Ken and Mary, which will be awesome, and seeing a movie. And tomorrow, I think both Sam and I are gonna be just like making videos forever because we're going out of town in a few days, so gotta get as much done as possible. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna do with my day, the rest of my day. But I hope you guys have had an amazing weekend so far, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.